Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, we're going to be viewing and reviewing subscriber teams for Sun Dream Team. Now, I asked over on X for you to send your teams in. Thankfully, there was a few that were sent over. If I have missed any of them in this video, I do apologise. But if you'd like a second version and a second part to this video, leave a comment down below. I'd like to thank you all again for the support on the channel. We are rapidly approaching 600 subscribers. It's just going up and up and up. Everyone's just being so nice in the comment section down below, and I can only thank you all so much for the support. But in this video, it is the subscribers videos. Can we crack on? Without further ado, let's crack on with the video. As I mentioned in the introduction, this video does and is based around subscribers squads that are sent over on X. Link is down in the description below if you want to go check me out. I will be doing more of these, more than likely, potentially one more before the start of the season, before that game week 1 deadline, to see how a few teams are lining up and to give my view on them. I will caveat this video with, I do believe, I think it's James from Planet FPL, his mantra is play it your way, and I completely agree with that. I am just one person who is going to be putting my thoughts and opinions towards these teams. It doesn't make them true, it doesn't make it better than what you've built, because potentially these drafts could change obviously until the start of the deadline. But just bear that in mind, it's just one person's thoughts and opinions on the team. So first up, we've got Louis FF. Now his team is very well balanced. We've got Kelleher in goal, Cucurella, Wan-Bissaka, Van der Ven, which is an interesting one, I'll get to him in a minute, Gibbs White, Florian Wirtz, Mitoma, Ndai, Kudos, Salah, and João Pedro. Now, looking at this team straight away, there's a few issues that I can see, but on the whole, it's very well structured and I can see it scoring particularly well. We've got Kelleher in goal, we've got Wan-Bissaka, we've got Ndai, Mitoma. So there's only 4 players out of the 11 there from what I can see that don't have European games in game week 4 and onwards. So it means you can easily build towards that starting 11 of European spots. Yes, players such as Gibbs White and who's the other one on that list? I think that's it really from Conference League and Europa League based teams. But it's a decent squad, it really is. Van der Ven is an interesting one, as I alluded to. Yes, they got Burnley in their opening fixture, and a couple of fixtures down the line are decent for Tottenham, but he's not a wing back, and that's the issue. How many extra points is Van der Ven going to pick up for that £3.5 million price point? More than likely we'll get a clean sheet on the opening day. A lot of the statistical data backs up a lot of goals for Tottenham in that game and a clean sheet. However, if they don't come away with a clean sheet in that game, and he only played 45 minutes in Tottenham's last pre-season friendly as well. I think he came on at half time for Romero. So I'm not sure if they're just managing his minutes or it was a sort of protecting injury mode kind of thing. But with Tottenham, they do have PSG in the Super Cup. I think it's the Wednesday or Thursday before the start of the season. So that is one to bear in mind. Could Kevin Danso play in that opening fixture? It's potential. I do think Van der Ven will start, but what else does he offer you outside that £3.5 million bracket? Wan-Bissaka, another one. 4 million, tackle monster, pretty decent at the back, targeting that opening fixture with Sunderland away. Will he play that double game week in game week 2? I think, is it Chelsea that West Ham have got in that second one with an yet to be decided second round fixture? I think he will play. I don't see many other options that West Ham have got at right back / right wing back if they're switched with 5. So my gut instinct he will play both fixtures. Kelleher, decent option at 3 million. Currently myself, I'm looking at a potentially cheaper goalkeeper. There's not many points to be had in defence and goalkeeper within the first 3 game weeks normally, so that is one to note. Cucurella I do like though, it's a good price point. Chelsea got very good fixtures, and just having him here in the team ahead of those Champions League fixtures. Yes, they've signed Jorel Hato from Ajax, but I do see Cucurella starting the majority of games. Wirtz, doubling up on that Liverpool attack, very solid starting fixtures. Although in this draft, I'm seeing 3 players actually, that are quite important. We've got Bruno Fernandes, so actually four. We've got Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Palmer, and Haaland. It seems the money has been spread out across the midfield. A lot of 4.5 to 4 million to 6 million, with lots between that 4 to 4.5 million price bracket. But no Haaland, no Saka, no Palmer. I see potentially a very difficult start on that front. These are the players who are priced premium for a reason. 4.5 million, in my opinion, for Gibbs White is too steep. When the Europa League / Conference League, depending on where Forest end up, fixtures come around, it's a solid player to pick. But currently, with those first three fixtures, I'd be looking elsewhere, value for money. Kudos and Dye, solid picks. Mitoma is an interesting one. I'm not sure if he will play in that second Carabao Cup round fixture, but he's a solid option. He started last season well. Always a good player to have in your squads. João Pedro, yes, he did fantastically well in the Club World Cup. Do I see his minutes being solid? No. I think he'll play between 60 and 70 minutes each game, with Delap potentially coming on. Looks like Nicholas Jackson's going to be leaving before the start of the season. And will he be on penalties like he was at Brighton? I don't think he will. I think it'll be Cole Palmer. So in that team, you're missing a lot of big hitters. I'd give that team 6.5 out of 10. With no Bruno, with no Haaland, no Saka, no Palmer, I can see some hurting weeks at the start of the season if none of those other differentials go off. I'd be looking at potentially downgrading Gibbs White. Well, those are the key assets that you probably need in your team. The second team in today's video is from Rock_Balboa, not to be mistaken with Rocky himself. His team consists of Sanchez in goal, Nunes, Van de Ven, Williams, Palmer, Wirtz, Wilson and Rodgers in midfield, with Haaland, Pirro and Ekitike up front. Now, face value, this team once again is a pretty decent one. I believe there's 100 million spent in the majority of these teams, with the odd exception of I think a few have 0.5 left over in reserves. Sanchez in goal, I really like. It looks like Chelsea have moved away from signing a backup or potentially a number one goalkeeper. They was linked with Maignan for an awful long time. Doesn't seem to be coming to any fruition. So it looks like Sanchez's minutes are quite set going forward. Nunes, another one that's really intriguing me personally. I think they've got a lot more confidence with regards to his minutes going into the season. I saw a few Manchester City fan accounts that have said he is the starting right back for Guardiola this campaign. Of course, we don't necessarily think or know what that means for his minutes going forward, but we can hope that it's more than a few benchings here and there. Of course, Akanji can switch to a right back. They've got Aït-Nouri on the other side. Potentially, will Nunes play with Aït-Nouri? Will Nunes play with Gvardiol when he plays left back? Is that the balance that Pep wants? I think Nunes offers great attacking threat, and obviously Manchester City defensively are really, really solid. 4 million has been reclassified as a midfielder this season, and going forward, I can see, similar to Rico Lewis at the start of last season, a lot of people gravitating towards him if he starts the season well. Van de Ven just spoke about in the previous section for the last team. Not too sure on him personally. Nico Williams, a fantastic selection. I think Forest fixtures are really good. Can he offer points outside clean sheets? Because from pre-season itself, I think Forest have only scored one goal in the entirety of pre-season. So it looks like Nuno Espirito Santos, or their manager basically, is still veering towards a less possession-based attack and a solid defence. So I think Williams is a solid option. Palmer, I think he's an essential pick of sorts. Saving the 0.5 over Saka could be a big decision for quite a few. And being priced the same as Bruno, where Bruno could potentially have a double game week in game week 2, is one to look out for. But I think Palmer starts the seasons quite well normally. Wirtz, an unknown player when it comes to this league. It looks like he's going to be playing very central, and once again from Liverpool accounts, it seems to be that Gravenberch will play at the base of the midfield three. Then it'd be either Wirtz, but Wirtz will start, and it'd be either Szoboszlai or McAllister. It seems like McAllister's going to have there's going to be kind of fed into the season basically after being given so many minutes in the previous campaign. So Wirtz's minutes, Of course, big money signing over the summer, look really set. Can you save the money on a certain player? Not in this attack. We'll balance it up in a minute. Harry Wilson, probably the player of pre-season so far. Fulham having that Carabao Cup double in game week 2. Will he play? I think Adama Traore as an option out wide for Fulham has been linked with Nottingham Forest. So that's one to look out for. Might increase Harry Wilson's minutes. Only 3 million, offers decent value. Can he pick up those attacking returns as the season starts? It's yet to be seen, but I really like that differential. Morgan Rogers was Mr. Dependable last year on this game. I think he started last campaign at either 3 or 3.5 million. He was in my starting team. Huge increase price wise this season, and he's been priced exactly the same as Ollie Watkins. Now, Villa starting, I think it's 7 to 10 fixtures are really, really solid. Can he produce the same output that he did last year? I think he can, but for 5.5 million, that's really, really close to that premium price bracket. Only 0.5 less than Cole Palmer. Does he deserve to be that much value? I'm not sure. I think 4.5 to 5 million would have been more suitable for him, but I like that pick. Erling Haaland, it seems he's got the captaincy on him for the opening day away to Wolves. Is Haaland essential? Does he start seasons well? I think so. If you don't have him, it's a hide behind the chair kind of game. Pirro, really like this pick. In FPL, I was a big fan of him. Apparently, Leeds were searching for a new forward. It seems to have gone a bit cold on that front, but I think Leeds are still trying to bring players in to bolster the squad before the start of the season, so that's one to look out for. If he does start, 2.5 million, solid differential and solid budget option. And then Ekitike, brand new signing. I'm really not sure about this. Of course, Alexander Isak is pretty much waiting at Anfield's door to step out onto the pitch, and just waiting to finalise or potentially meet Newcastle's valuation of around 140 million. But what would that mean for Ekitike's minutes? I don't think he'll start if that is the case. Maybe playing off the left, and is that what you're buying him for? I'm not sure. He'd be fighting for minutes with Cody Gakpo. But of course, his team doesn't have Mohamed Salah. Now, he did miss a penalty in pre-season the other day. But can you go at the start of the season without Mo Salah with such good Liverpool fixtures? You can. Is it a risk? Absolutely. And for that reason, I'm going to give this team a 7.5. This is King Mammoth's team. He has Kelleher in goal, Cucurella, O'Brien, Heaven, Ndai, Palmer, Wirtz, Maddison, Haaland, Solanke, and João Pedro. It's a solid team across the board. Kelleher in goal. Of course, Brentford's new signing. They have moved on Flecken to the Bundesliga. Kelleher did exceptionally well for Liverpool last season when called upon, which is why I think he is that 3 million price. Will he play in the second game? I don't think so. I think, is it Valdemarson? Brentford's second choice goalkeeper will play. He played in the second round fixture last season, so if he's not injured, I can only see a single in that game week, but decent value for money. Cucurella, spoke about, fantastic option going forward for Chelsea, especially with Europe around the corner. He offers good attacking threat. I think depending on who the other fullback is in that system for Chelsea, could be Reece James, could be Malo Gusto. It potentially changes where Cucurella plays in that team. I think in the final few games of Chelsea's Club World Cup, he ended up playing more of a left centre-back role in that system, which is not what we're after. If he's getting into the box, breaking forward, shots on target, all that good stuff, he's normally quite good for tackles as well. That's where that 4.5 million prize bracket will come into play. O'Brien and Heaven are two that I'm not completely sold on. At the start of when the game came out, basically, Heaven was really high on my list. However, it seems like through pre-season, Luke Shaw has actually edged him out of that squad. I didn't think that would be the case. And of course, Luke Shaw's injury record is one to look out for, because if he picks up a knock at any stage, especially before the season starts, Heaven will be in there. I thought Heaven would actually start. He ended the season really, really well for Manchester United. And Luke Shaw just left a lot to be desired. 2 million, it's a solid price. It's a budget enabler, but you want him out on the pitch, and I think there's better value elsewhere. I've seen some people in the comments mention the Sunderland assets, and I think someone like Dan Ballard could potentially offer better value for money. And O'Brien currently is going to be Everton's starting right back, if from what we're led to believe is true. There'll be Tarkowski and Branthwaite at centre half with Mikolenko at left back. Even their new signing, I think it's Asnu from Bayern Munich, isn't set to start, which unfortunately I was kind of hoping for. 2.5 million would have been a great value pick there. But O'Brien, I think Everton are looking at a right back currently. Whether or not they can get it through for the start of the season is unsure. Leeds away on the opening fixture. If he's there for 3 million, it's worth a punt. And I think he will also play in that Carabao Cup second round game because they'll rest Tarkowski or Branthwaite. Of course, Tarkowski is just coming back from an injury. Ndai currently has the captaincy on him for the opening game. I'm not sure if that is his actual pick or it's just been left there whilst drafting. Like him as a pick. Leads away, as I mentioned with O'Brien. Captaincy option, I'm not quite sure. He scored a goal against Man United in pre-season. He is on penalties, but captaincy, I'm not too sure. Palmer, just a really solid pick. Wirtz, currently unknown, as I've spoken about. He will play further forward for Liverpool. He will get in the box. But for that 6 million price bracket, can we get a better nailed on asset? Someone who's known the league for a few more seasons? I think that's potentially the case. Obviously, James Maddison, you've just got to take him out of your team now. Unfortunately, got carried off for Tottenham in their pre-season friendly the other day against Newcastle. I believe it was Jungminson's send-off game. We haven't heard any further news on his injury, but it's looking like a bad one, a recurring injury in the same knee he did injure last season, and if it's anything less than 9 months ACL wise, I think he's going to be very lucky. So at 4.5 million, he's got to go out your team. Haaland starts the season well, great goal scorer, tried and trusted, 7.5 million, which I actually think was about 0.5 too much this season for him price wise. But Sun Dream Team did price him the same as Salah. Solanke, yet to really have a pre-season for Tottenham. Can he come back before the start of the season? Certainly. But for 5 million, I think someone like a Jared Bowen could offer better value, especially with him not having a pre-season yet. So I'd be taking him out your team. And João Pedro, as I spoke about, minutes-wise, I think he's certainly one to keep an eye on. He has the potential to score really, really well, but it's Chelsea we're talking about here, and there's normally a lot of rotation. Now, because of the two Tottenham assets in this team, and potentially Heaven at the back and O'Brien not doing too well in pre-season, I've got to give this team a 5 or a 6. Now, it might seem harsh, but when 30-40% of your outfield players are either a doubt or heavily injured, it's just the way it is, unfortunately. A few changes here and there, and it could be a great draft. Next up on our subscriber teams review list is Bill Billy. It's got Keller in goal, back three, Lewis Skelly, Heaven, De Kuiper is an interesting one, Palmer, Kudus, Ndai, Longstaff, Haaland, Salah, and Alexander Isak. Kelleher, spoke about in the previous draft, solid pick, 3 million, can't really go wrong, won't play in the Carabao Cup in my opinion. Now, Lewis Skelly, as an Arsenal fan, he divides opinion. 4 million is a really good price to get into that Arsenal back four, but with Manchester United away and Liverpool away in the first 3 game weeks, do I see many clean sheets there? Yes, they've got Leeds at home in the second fixture, but I can see Arsenal conceding in 2 out of those first 3 games. They went on a decent run at the start of last season. I believe it was 4 clean sheets out of the first 5 games. But he's always just on the cusp of a mistake. He gave the goal away against Tottenham in pre-season. It was a great finish from the halfway line. And if we're being really honest, he was fouled in the build-up to that goal. But it's always a red card or a mistake. If Calafiori's fit or Timber's fit, I would actually start them ahead of Lewis Skelly for Arsenal. But I do think Lewis Skelly will start for Arsenal. Heaven, spoken about minutes-wise, not looking too great. De Kuiper is one that I had in one of my original drafts. I was sold this dream of him being a wing-back for Brighton, coming from the Belgian national team. Incredible just statistics from last season, his last campaign. But from pre-season, it does indeed look like he's taking up more of a left centre-back role in their system when going forward. And that's not what you want. If that is the case and he's staying back and not getting forward, I'd actually save the 0.5 and go for someone like a Lewis Dunk if you are focusing on the Brighton fixtures. But that's my personal opinion. Palmer, once again, great option. Indai, decent fixtures on penalties. Mohamed Kudus, I actually think this season for bonus points, if he continues to get the minutes on the right hand side, he might even play the number 10 role with Maddison's injury looking bad as well. I think bonus points wise, he's going to be really, really good. Even in the game I watched against Arsenal, he was tracking back, he would have got high tackle numbers. And even from just a person watching that game with no statistical data behind it, it seemed like his ball recoveries, his interceptions, and all the things that goes towards bonus points would have been quite high. So I'm keeping a keen look on him in particular. Longstaff for 2 million, decent value for money. Of course, he was priced as a Newcastle midfielder and then transferred to Leeds, which is why he's on the cheaper side of things. You save 0.5 million on players like Tanaka in that Leeds midfield. Good value option. Haaland is Haaland. Potential for goals, potential for high scores, and of course captaincy option. He has got Salah in this draft. Captaincy on the opening day against a Bournemouth back four who's been ransacked. It's looking like Zabarnyi is going to PSG. Of course, Kirkez has already gone to Liverpool. Kepa's gone to Arsenal. That back four has been ransacked. It's not looking great. Can Bournemouth play well in that game going forward? Absolutely. Do I think Liverpool are going to score goals? Yes. And Alexander Isak, you've got to take him out your team. I think he's put him in his team based on him joining Liverpool. I think he will join Liverpool, but as long as things progress and things get down the line and the longer it takes, we're only 10 days away from the start of the season, and on the opening day is indeed Bournemouth versus Liverpool, or Liverpool versus Bournemouth, I should say. We will see the team news for that game, but I doubt Isak will be in the Liverpool team, even if he has been brought before then. I think they'll go something safe. I think they'll go Gakpo, Ekitike and Salah. We will get the team news before that fixture, so if he has joined, he's worth a punt. But with all that confusion around him and unpredictability, I'd be taking him out of the team ASAP. He's 6.5 million. Potentially put it into another asset or spread the funds. Looking at this team, I'd give it a 7. Isak taking up a lot of the budget, not knowing what's happening is a big no-no in my opinion. Obviously, Heaven in defence, I don't like it anymore. De Kuyper not really playing that wing-back role. I think the spine of the team is good, but a few picks here and there could bump it up to maybe a 7.5 or an 8.5. This team consists of a 5 million. It's something that I haven't seen much of draft-wise because it stretches the budget so much. We'll get to them in a minute. The attack is stacked. We've got Sells in goal. He's covered the Forest defence there. I think 3.5 million for a goalkeeper at the start of the season when points can be had elsewhere is one to look out for. But very good option. Of course, Forest in the Premier League last season, he won the Golden Glove. He tied with David Raya. I think I had him at the start of last season for 3 million. There was a lot of debate about him, and I'm tempted to say it was Miguel at the time. But there's been talk of Forest potentially getting a new backup goalkeeper. Could he play in some of the Europa League games? Maybe, but for the first 3 games at least, Sells is a fantastic option. Kyle Walker, now are you picking him on name? From what I've seen for England, he is way past his sale-by date when it comes to pace. He'll still have the experience, and of course, in that Burnley back four, where it's lost quite a lot of key assets from last season's campaign, where they was exceptional. Now, if you've seen any of my other previous videos with Burnley and their data, they overachieved their defensive data by quite some way. They was expected to concede, I think it was about 30 odd goals, and only conceded 16 or so. So with losing players like Trafford, and they've lost a few centre halves as well. I think even 2.5 million for Kyle Walker. Yes, they do have Sunderland. I think it's the second fixture of the season. But I think 2.5 million is still too much. Coyote, really, really good pick in my opinion. Potentially playing a wing-back role for Brentford. Certainly a full-back role at right-back. He got the assist the other day in a 1-0 win, assisting from a cross for a Nathan Collins header. Good budget option. He really is a good budget option, and he's been slipping in and out of a few of my drafts. It's just where the funds can be made up here and there. Can you get better value elsewhere? I'm not sure. One to look out for. Malo Gusto, I think he is a potential game breaker at 3 million, but he's fighting with Reece James for that right back position. Reece James's injury record, not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but he's been pushed into midfield more and more over the past few games, and I'm not sure if that's where Chelsea see Reece James's future. I think it'd be better for him physically rather than the up and down nature of a fullback role. So if Gusto does start the season at 3 million, I can see him coming into a lot of teams straight away. Of course, Chelsea have only just got back from the Club World Cup and they've had no pre-seasons whatsoever going into the new campaign. If we see Gusto starting, yes, they've got Palace in the opening fixture, but over the next few, I do actually see him being really good value for money if he's starting, and that's a big if. Now, going into the front line, this is where things get a bit spicy. Not only does he have Saka at 6.5 million, he's also got Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Mohamed Salah, and Erling Haaland. Now, that is the 5 million in a nutshell. He's got the 5 big hitters. There is no skimping out when it comes to attacking returns there. But the 2 in midfield to accompany them are Edwards of Burnley. I can't say I know too much about him. Is he going to start the season? Is he an attacking player? He hasn't slipped onto my radar in any of the budget videos that I've put out or any of the data. So if he is a player of note, it's not one that I've picked up on yet. But that doesn't mean he's not a good option by any stretch of the imagination. And Saw, of course, scored the goal the other day in pre-season against Arsenal. Tardy little finish, but will he start in that Tottenham midfield week in, week out? It seems like Bentancur played the base role the other day. Of course, they signed João Paulinho from Bayern Munich on loan. They've got Saar in midfield. Of course, Maddison's now injured. You've got other options like Bergvall. Certainly a lot of hope put onto him this season. Kulusevski can play in that number 10 role. There's lots of options knocking around for. They've got Bissouma as well, which is someone who didn't even spring to my mind. And of course, Archie Gray, who played the majority of his minutes in defence last season at fullback or centre half, but he is normally a midfielder. So even listing them off, I've got doubts about Sarr's minutes in midfield. If he would start every game for 3 million, really fantastic option. But can you look past having those 5 up front? I'm not sure. We've gone big. I'd give this draft between an 8 and an 8.5. It might be a little bit biased seeing all the big sparkly fireworks up front, your Sakas, your Palmers, your Bruno, your Mo Salahs. But is it a bit light at the back? Maybe. I think I'm going to give it an 8 overall, but it's a really good team. Next up, we've got FPL Titch, and his team is as follows. Sells in goal, back 3 of Levi Colwill, Nunes and Van der Ven. We've got Gay in midfield from Everton, Harry Wilson, Cole Palmer and Bukayo Saka. And the 3 up front is Mohamed Salah, Jared Bowen and Danny Welbeck. Sells in goal, spoke about in the previous team, very good option. Back 3, Van der Ven. Previous teams have had him. I've got doubts over his potential points outside of clean sheets. Nunes, going forward, I do think he will be a very, very good option, especially with Manchester City's opening fixtures. They normally start well, attacking returns. If he's in the team and he's getting minutes, he'll be in a lot of people's squads very quickly. Levi Colwill, now it's a cheaper option than someone like Cucurella. I think he's priced very similar to Malo Gusto, but you assume Colwill is more nailed on for minutes than Gusto is. Chelsea's fixtures in the opening month or two, really solid. Do I see many points outside of clean sheets for Colwill? Not particularly. He might pick up the odd tackle points here and there. Maybe even sneak in with a headed goal from a set piece, but that's just an outside shout. He's not particularly great for bonus points, and I think he sits in the same category for me as someone like a Van der Ven. The midfield 4, Harry Wilson, pre-season Ronaldinho at this rate. Palmer and Saka, tried and trusted. And Gay, Idrissa Gana Gay from Everton is a really interesting shout. Now, he got let loose in the summer. I think he got given a new contract. From what I'm led to believe, he will be in that starting 11 for Everton, with perhaps Tim Irabunen in front of him and someone like a Carlos Alvarez. I think it's Alvarez. And he's a £2.5 million player with attacking potential and maybe on set pieces as well. So I think I'd lean him over Gay. But it's nice to see some different names in there for a change. Salah captaincy on the opening day, from what he's given me here. Salah on the opening day scores. He normally gets an attacking return. I don't think you can look past him too much. Jared Bowen is a player that I genuinely thought I'd see more in teams. Sunderland away in the opening fixture. He's then got, I think, Chelsea at home in the second game week with a potential double, where I do actually think he will play that fixture for West Ham. 5 million price bracket. He's been exceptional in pre-season. Of course, pre-season form has to be taken with a pinch of salt consistently. But Bowen is a tried and trusted asset. I'm sad he's an attacker rather than a midfielder, but he was last season. 5 million. Compared to someone like an Ekatike in that previous draft, I do genuinely think that Jared Bowen offers a lot more points-wise going into the start of the season. It will give you the tackles. He's got potential for bonus points. We think he's on penalties as well, which is another string to his bow. Really like that pick. And Danny Welbeck is a really, really rogue shout. Fulham on the opening day. Potential for the double in game week 2. Not too bad price-wise. I think he's between 3 and 3.5 if I can remember back to doing my statistical data stuff. Do correct me in the comments down below if that is wrong. But I certainly won't be picking him if he's over 4 million, well, 4 or 4.5 million and above. It's just a tried and trusted asset in the Premier League. Minutes-wise, with no João Pedro anymore, and Evan Ferguson going on loan to, I think it's Roma, is a little bit more trusted than he was in previous campaigns. Injury record is never great with Welbeck, but when he's fit, he's certainly a good asset. Now, this team I'd give between a 7 and a 7.5. And last, but by no means least on today's video, is SimonH. I did plan on doing more in this video, but I've spoken way too much and got into far too much detail with regards to these teams. So if you'd like to see a part 2 at any stage, do leave in the comments down below. But here's got Vicario in goal, Mykolenko, De Kuyper, Colwill. In midfield, he does have Alcaraz, Lewis Potter, Wirtz, Palmer, and the front three of Haaland, Salah, and João Pedro. Now, I really like this squad. The front, well, 2 out of the front 3, solid options. He's got 2 premiums in midfield, and all around the price structures are on point. It allows you to move between them fairly easily. Vicario looks like he's nailed that number 1 spot. There was a bit of doubt at some stage whether Kinski would overtake him when Thomas Frank took over as manager, but Vicario is seemingly nailed in that Tottenham team. Mykolenko for 3.5 million. I think I'd actually get O'Brien for 0.5 cheaper if you're targeting just the first 3 fixtures. Tackles wise, really good. Offensively wise, very poor. Mykolenko. De Kuyper, spoken about, more a left centre back role currently in that Brighton system than a wing back. And Colwill, not really offering too much going forward or bonus points wise. Alcaraz, I'm quite fond of. He's still getting used to the league, but this season he does look like he's going to be nailed on in that number 10 role for Everton. Just a shame attacking wise at the minute, they're misfiring and they do need a lot more numbers and bodies through the door. Lewis Potter is an interesting one. Unfortunately, on this game, he is categorised as a midfielder compared to someone like FPL, where he is a defender, which would have meant an out of position, potentially Lewis Potter, but I think he's actually out of position in this game. He's more of a wing back currently. Yes, he is playing some of the number 10 roles behind the centre forward, but that Brentford team has been torn apart this season. If he was a defender playing in midfield for 2.5 million, I think he'd be in an awful lot more drafts. Florian Wirtz, I'm intrigued to see how he goes on in that Liverpool team. Cole Palmer, short pre-season, will that affect him? I don't think so. I think he'll start pretty well. He normally does in August. Haaland and Salah, very much likewise. 2 attacking assets for 15 million across the board. If you go without either one of them, fair play. It's a big gamble, but it could pay off. And João Pedro's minutes, I think he'll score goals for Chelsea. but I do also think he might be a little bit hit and miss like Nicholas Jackson, who is another one who is still at the club. It doesn't look like he's going to stay there, but with Delap, Jackson and Pedro on the books as things stand, that's a lot of attacking talent for João Pedro to be getting certified minutes and guaranteed minutes, and I don't think it's going to happen. No penalties anymore. 4.5 million, in my opinion, could be better spent elsewhere. Although ownership wise, going against him could be tricky. I'd give this team, with Lewis Potter out of position, with Mikalenko maybe needing downgrade, and Vicario not really offering too much for that 3.5 million. I do prefer sells for that same price bracket. I think I'd give this team a 7.5. And that is it for today's video. Unfortunately, if I couldn't get through all your teams, I will potentially be doing a second one of these as well before the game week 1 deadline. If you do want to see that, drop a comment in the comments down below, and I will potentially get another one out beforehand. But there's plenty of drafts that have been and gone, lots to look out for. There's quite a few of you who have said you're nearly close to nailing those drafts. With less than 10 days to go, it's getting really, really close. I'm not set on my team yet, and the closer we're getting to the deadline, the more I'm tinkering, the more I'm pulling people out, the more I'm thinking and double checking myself. It's a nightmare, but I do love this time of year. Thank you very much for watching. The socials are in the description below. We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got X, we've got all that good stuff. Once again, thank you very much for all the support on the channel. We are rapidly approaching 600 subscribers. If you can drop a thumbs up on the video and drop a bell to notify yourself when all my uploads go live, that'd be greatly appreciated. But that's it, I'm afraid. Thank you very much for watching, and you'll be seeing me in a new video very soon.